Hello everyone, Baby Flapula here, hope you're having a fantastic day. Today we're just going to test out a good friend of mine who often reported to have poor visualization skills. Here is a curious infographic by Aphantasia Meow about the spectrum of the mind's eye. Like, first of all, we have with your eyes closed and thinking of a cat. And then, curiously, we have a condition called prophantasia, which is just a suggested name for the phenomena of projecting imagery on top of what you actually see. For example, you look at the screen in front of you right now and imagine a red circle over it and try to visualize the circle going over the thing that you see. That property would be prophantasia. There's also a lot of chess players who project lines and electricity strings or arrows on top of the chess game so that they don't lose track of the most relevant parts and strategies that they are going for in the game.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers. So,
creamy tangerine. Someone has a good sense.
Wow.
Of
we
taste.
love OT, don't we? How do we introduce you? Do we just say...
Yeah, I'm, just MrSerious.
Okay.
That's who I am. So
Okay.
don't ask why. I'm not gonna tell anyway.
Say hello to MrSerious, my friend, who we talked a lot about mental phenomena with. And, one such thing that we talked about is our ability to visualize things. And my friend often reported that it's a bit more difficult for him to visualize.
Yes. A bit of an understatement. So it's quite impossible for me to visualize things. And usually I found out that it's more memory related. So when I'm trying to recall something or imagine something, it's more I use my memories to try and help myself to at least have a few seconds of an image. Yeah, so that's how the process works.
Okay, interesting. I'm very interested to see what results we will get with these psychometric methods that I have here. Back in the old days when first, there was a guy, Francis Galton, who was like, yes, I want to study visual imagery and how vivid it is, but he didn't have any kind of psychometric methods. So he was just like, okay, let's sit 100 men down and ask them, what is the breakfast table with which you ate breakfast at? What about the colors, the shades, the shadows, and then 12 people of the participants, they were actually not really useful to him. And I was very curious, why don't they give any, valuable answers to his study?
It's because they have aphantasia.
I mean, yeah, that's
supposedly
one explanation. I mean, can you tell me about your breakfast table? If you just close your eyes and try to imagine, what do you see? What are the impressions that you get?
Well, I'm trying to recall the plate with pancakes, yellowish color. But as I said, it just pops into my mind for a few seconds. And then when I try to visualize something else, it just goes away.
Yes.
Zero, nothing. I think it's just memory recall. So I cannot keep it in my mind and to focus on it and try to add some other things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just hopeless.
How about you close your eyes and try to imagine a red star? What answer would you get? Just try to do that for now, and I will show the audience what are the options which you can pick later. And from 1 is nothing, 6 is just perfectly clear. And if you open your eyes, what image would you compare your visual impression of the star?
Probably 1 or 2. 2 maybe if I stretch it. It would be 2 maybe.
So even
for a brief moment.
Yeah.
I mean you could push it and say 2, but it's more than 1 for me.
So even if you say that you can't hold that image, that's the image. The number 2.
This is what would pop up. Just this silhouette of a star. Just a bit highlighted, but essentially black, so colorless, no details, no sharp lines, blurred, and very inconstant. Just fades.
So it's
oblivion.
Just 2 pops up, but then it immediately goes to number 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, no? So it's hard to say, am I just maybe imagining, trying too hard with 2, or is it... But let's say the majority of the time, I think the image number 1 characterizes my experience the most. So yeah.
So there's never colors in
No. Colors are just a luxury that I do not possess.
Well, what if you think of a rainbow, for example, like what would you see? I mean, how do you imagine a rainbow?
Well, I know what a rainbow is. I know the concept of a rainbow. I know it's supposed to be an arc that has different colors, you know. Of course, I don't know how the sequence goes, but what I would see is an arc that's black, gray in the middle, and yeah, then when you try to focus on the middle part, then the arc starts to fade and disappear as well. So yeah.
Oh.
There is not much there.
Well, that's one of the reasons I think it's worth talking about such things, so more people get aware about that other people's minds, their mental constitution, their mental worlds, they are quite different from what you might perceive, for example, right?
Yeah, of course, and you know, maybe you can realize that you don't have a career in chess, you know, if you have aphantasia, because well, it's just too big of a handicap to overcome. I would assume, because for me, seeing other people, so let's say the World Chess champion Magnus Carlsen playing blindfolded against 12 people in an exhibition match, this is just science fiction for me. It's not possible. So, just wishful thinking. So, yeah, I think it kind of eliminates me from being a world champion in chess.
I actually talked to some guy, and he was like, kind of jealous of his friend who could play chess with his eyes closed or a bit of bandage over, and he was like, yeah, I'm jealous because I can do that. And I was like, well, why can't you do it? You are very good at chess. And then he said that he basically has aphantasia. He can't, like, once his eyes are closed, he's seeing nothing, and by seeing nothing, he's virtually unable to make any sort of moves because he's not knowing like where he's treading with his pieces in the darkness.
Exactly. Yeah, it's literally playing blind. You cannot see, you cannot visualize, so it's useless.
There's also this ability, prophantasia, and that's the ability of projecting your mental imagery on top of what you are actually seeing. So for example, when I play chess, I imagine electricity strings to go through the all the possible moves that the chess pieces can make. That's very useful to me. Like I don't really know how I would play chess without just having all those strings on the board. Like then I would be basically blind if I wouldn't have those strings to guide me to the relevant parts of the chess game.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. So because I was kind of thinking when you said that you don't know how you would play, then I was thinking, okay, how do I play in such situation? So how do I solve this problem? So for me, how I imagine it, it's okay. I cannot move that piece. That's how I imagine. So you cannot move it because otherwise the king is in the line of fire. So maybe it's more of an ocean. So this is cannot move. So I don't see any binding or something, but it's just I don't know, this attribute of that piece that is pinned just cannot move. So yeah. Interesting.
Yes. So this is a vividness of visual imagery quiz. You can solve it online at the Aphantasia Network website, and basically you just get a bunch of scenarios that you're supposed to imagine. It asks you how vivid you can see, and first option is no image at all. You only know what you're thinking of the object, and then it's dim and vague, flat, moderately clear and lively, or perfectly clear and lively as real seeing. So that are the options, and we're gonna go through them.
Okay,
and see how you see when you don't look.
Okay, so think of some relative or friend whom you frequently see but who is not with you at present, and consider carefully the picture that comes before your mind's eye. Okay. Yeah, in the beginning I was getting some shape and his beard as well, jawline, but then it just started fading away and everything was just a vague concept, you know, of the shape of the features. So I don't know, everything was just fading into this gray, black emptiness of my imagination. I don't know really how much to that I can attribute to memory and how much is actually visualization.
Oh, right.
So because what I suspect is that many times when I'm trying to imagine, my mind just switches to memories. Try to search the memory database and just find this, so let's say a characteristic pose or a jest that he does or something. So yeah, different colors worn in some familiar clothes. Okay. Okay, I can think. I was searching my memory of this red, white diamond shape.
Yeah. So you know
pattern.
So you know it's red, but do you see the red?
No, I wouldn't say so. No, I understand the concept. So it's red, so it's supposed to be red. So because I remember it was red and white, but I cannot imagine it as red and white. So everything is gray, dark. Visualize a rising sun. Consider carefully the picture that comes before your mind's eye. Very precise. The sun rising above the horizon into a hazy sky. Here we go. Okay, so I can imagine the horizon, and then a sun slowly moving up. So let's say a silhouette of a sun, not exactly full circle. So it's all colorless. Let's say the sun, because I know it's supposed to be of this bright color. So let's go to the next one. The sky clears and surrounds the sun with blueness. Yeah, so the haze goes away. Okay. Nope. No, that's just nothing at all.
Oh.
I mean, this change of color is just doesn't work. Yeah, I mean, there's no real change. So the haze disappearing, it doesn't disappear. It's just, yeah, I know that it's supposed to disappear, but I don't see it. A rainbow appears. Yeah, a rainbow. Yeah. Okay. I mean, in the beginning it was like, so this dark arc, and then for a split second, maybe it was just, there were some arcs, let's say, in between, that's when I was supposed to be separated, and maybe I could see a bit of blue, a bit of yellow, but then just split second, and then it goes away, just fades.
Oh.
So, and then I cannot do it anymore, so
okay.
I don't know, maybe I'm stimulating, after all those years, stimulating some brain parts now.
But that is what visualizing is, I think.
Yeah, maybe that's so. Maybe I just didn't use my visualization enough. My parents messed something up, probably.
I mean, there are tests that people with aphantasia can do to improve their visualization, it would seem. I mean, I don't know actually, but go check out that YouTube channel, Aphantasia Meow. He does seem to have some advice in that regards. Okay, so I just went forward. So think of the front of a shop which you often go to. Consider the picture that comes before your mind's eye. Okay, I'm thinking about this local Lidl store that I go to. That's the front, the entrance. There's door, but struggling with the colors. Right now it's nothing. Right now it's just black. Right.
Just yeah. I cannot hold it. I cannot hold it in my mind. So it just disappears after some time. So it looks like it's more triggered by concepts. So maybe in the beginning, when I repeat it in my mind, maybe it stimulates some of the other parts of my brain that are basically tasked with this audio recall or whatever, and then so they help in. That's how it feels like to me. I mean,
yeah, that's basically how, like, for example, every person supposedly has a little bit of synesthesia, which is the intertwinement of various, not just visual, but any sensory impressions, right? That's why you, like, for example, look at those silent GIFs or GIFs. What is it called again? I don't know. People like look at those silent GIFs, right? Silent GIF. Yeah. So they look at those and they hear what's going on in them because there are specific images, a specific sequence that is so closely tied to our experience of hearing sound that our brain automatically just triggers the sound. You have, like, for example, a bouncing ball. And because you've seen and heard that in the combination so often, like if you're gonna like see a ball just jumping up and down and there's gonna be no like auditory input, your brain is going to start producing it a bit. So that might be the same mechanism going on here. Like you think of a concept and then boom, the first association visually comes up to help you associate it further to some experience that you had with it.
A window display including colors, shapes, and details of individual items for sale. Yeah, so interesting thing. So now I try to just stop using my memory because I just always go to memories. I try to visualize. And then after this second of effort, so there's nothing there, and then it looks like my mind just automatically goes memory. Okay, go to memory, like so involuntarily. As well, you could describe it as this maybe, because I was trying to block it out, but it just came in very fast. So returned very quickly. So there's a memory input. So the last one for this section is: you enter the shop and go to the counter. The counter assistant serves you. Money changes hands. Okay, this is just failing miserably, trying to imagine something, but.
Like an action that
trying to also block memories. But there's just nothing there. If I block out the memories, then there's a blank, and I'm just staring into a blank wall. So okay. Finally, think of a county scene which involves trees. Country scene. Jesus. Country scene which involves trees, mountains, and a lake. Consider the picture that comes before your mind's eye. Okay, trees, mountains, and a lake. Okay, that's just so challenging because I have to focus at one thing at a time. Yeah. And so countryside, and I was trying to imagine some hills and trying to also add some color. Then like, okay, I kind of have some outline of this now. Okay, yeah, green, not really green, but this grayish green maybe, Yeah. But then. When I say, okay, now a lake, then everything just starts disappearing. Trees and so just I would say it takes a big amount of effort. Yeah. And it looks like I just get tired or something after this initial progress, finish some initial imagery, and then everything just fades away. And so.
It's very interesting that we knew each other for such a long time. Like, what is it now? Maybe 10 years, and we have never this has never come up. The fact that we are imagining the world, but that our constitution is so different until right when we started talking about aphantasia specifically.
Yeah, exactly.
That's when we found out, hey, wait a minute, there's a difference.
Yeah, because you don't really, if you don't have a reference point, if you don't specifically talk about the quality of your internal imagery, you're just not going to notice any difference because, this is the only thing you have access to, the only experience from a phenomenological standpoint. So, okay, so I guess everyone so experience things the same way, and you never even question it.
Yeah, because we also vaguely use the same words to describe our mental world, right? And then you just assume, it's the same words. Maybe they refer to the same phenomena.
This last one: a strong wind blows on the trees and on the lake, causing reflections in the water. Okay, let's give it a try. Okay, now I was able to visualize a bit better the lake, and then also to see some reflection of the sky. And then when I was also trying to hold this image in my mind, but also then include the trees as well, maybe for one split second. So there was something there that you could sum up and pass as a visualization, relatively vivid for my usual experience. But still, just, let's say, not vague, dim, vague, flat. Okay. So I think that's the last one.
Yeah, I think that's it. That's the whole test. So now you'll just have to put in some information because they try to gather, right, for research purposes. So I would say the result won't be pure aphantasia. Okay, let's just see. I would say it's low aphantasia. Yeah, okay. You do not have a vivid imagination, but it's not quite aphantasia. And they also, here they stress that this does not factor in other sensory imagery like sound, smell, or taste, right? I think you might have quite a strong sense for taste, your imagination and stuff. You love cooking, and you always go into whiskey. Very, Scotch. Quite some detail about how it's gonna taste everything and why. So I think it was quite, let's say, expected results. Nothing surprising. Yeah. But I mean, there's a difference, and it's noticeable. And when we just compare just anecdotes, you can see that there's a difference. So, definitely there's a qualitative difference between our experiences, and it's good to be mindful of this fact. Yeah. And take it into account. Yeah, maybe this is also less surprising because you happen to be someone who already thought about this matter, who also is a bit more introspective, a bit more analytical, since you love psychometrics like personality groups and stuff like that. So but to people who are, there's a lot of people who don't really go into such self-reflections that often, and they could be quite they could have an inkling that there's something different about them, but with aphantasia, people that have aphantasia, it's quite often for them to only find out when they are like 30 or 40 even. I mean, maybe there would be some valuable information to be extracted from maybe scanning the brains and trying to identify the brain areas responsible for this mental imagery, and then see if there's maybe differences in activity of those parts. Maybe they're not active, or maybe they could try to approach this from more, let's say, scientific perspective in this way. More like just a suggestion, not really a scientist or researcher in this field. So. Yeah, but it's always good, like when we have introspective phenomenon that are not really directly observable or measurable, right? Then it makes sense to find some correlation to some consequences of some introspective report that are observable. Like somebody observes something, and that you choose to look at something that some correlation that seems to be there. So that's a sensible solution, of course. Okay, so any closing thoughts? Yeah. So if you have aphantasia, stay away from chess. I mean, professionally, you can play chess and be good at it and beat some people. I mean, we'll see. I think that's a very interesting thing to think about. Are there, professional players, good players that have aphantasia? That is something that I might look into. Yes. Okay.
Toodaloo, bye bye.
Okay. Thank you for being here.
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure.
It was a very nice conversation, and yeah, hopefully in the future we can have some more discussions about ethics and stuff that we like to discuss more about in our free time.
Definitely.